All right. First thing I want to ask you is, how did you get into OVW? Did you try out? Did you call? Did they call you? How did that work?
So funny, Inferno Kid, who we both know, actually was down there and had told me about a tryout training camp that they were doing. And, I was living with Judas Young, Brian at the time. And, he had told both of us, and I was like, I'll send in an application, like big deal. Like I'm never going to get picked. Right. So I sent it in and they say, yes, we want to have you. And I was like, oh my God, I didn't think I was going to get picked. So I was like, I'll just go. It's a 3, I do Friday, Saturday, Sunday loops, like no big deal. Right. So I went down and, it was really cool. I was one of 2 girls in the whole class. We stayed at one of the Econo lodges or something like that, did the classes, saw Dr. Tom, worked with Rip Rogers, the whole shebang, Danny Davis. And so I'll just do the weekend, came home, no big deal. Called Danny Davis that following week and just said, hey, thanks. I really appreciate it. Had a good time, blah, blah, blah. And, he had just said, we really enjoyed you. We really think that you have a lot to offer. We want you to come down to OVW, and made it very clear it was OVW. It was not WWE. They were very big on that because it was a developmental at the time. So, it was really Inferno that kind of gave me that push and know that was even there to just say, come on down. And it was comforting to know he was already there. And that's how I got into OVW. So, did all the, did the beginners class, kind of went into the intermediate, and that was the start of OVW for me.
So you're trying out just to work out there. You're not trying out for a job back then. You're just trying out so you can go to their classes every week.
Right. Yep. They made it very clear, even though it was a developmental territory back then for WWE, and there was a contracted class. Anybody that went to OVW was OVW. You paid tuition. You only went to their classes. And yes, you could help out for some of the TV shows they did, but it was never promised. It was never guaranteed. You were not guaranteed to see, any of the higher ups and executives for WWE, but you just knew you needed to be in the mecca of where everything was happening anyway, because you were going to learn. But Danny Davis made it very clear, which is good, because I think a lot of people have that stigma of thinking, I'm going to go down there and get signed. I mean, it took Beth a long time to get signed. It took Nick Dinsmore a long time to get signed. They followed that dream too. So yeah, it was just to take that chance, take that risk.
Besides Danny and Rip, who else was in charge? Who were the trainers down there?
When I did the classes, when I first got there, it was mostly Rip Rogers. But Mike Mondo helped him out a lot. And he's phenomenal. So, so Danny Davis, Al Snow was, I think when I got there, I think Lance Storm was on his way out, and Cornette were on their way out, and then Al came in. So it was like on the cusp of that transition. But for the beginners or intermediate classes, it was Rip Rogers, who's rough, but you have to understand that Southern wrestling veteran mentality. He's rough for a reason, and he teaches you really the basics of it. So, I don't regret any of his classes. He teaches you just so much, and he's just so unique, and you have to get used to his personality. He's a worker too. So he was rough, as he's rough on everybody. But yeah, so that was, I didn't see Dr. Tom until only during that one tryout weekend. It was mostly just Rip and Danny Davis initially, and then Al Snow. And when Al came in, Paul Heyman also did their TVs and was kind of like doing a writer thing. He wasn't there all the time. He would just come in for the TVs. So those were the higher up people that were there when I was there.
What was your impression of Paul Heyman?
I didn't get to talk to him a lot because I wasn't in the contracted class, but I would show up for the TVs. I luckily had networked enough that I knew a lot of the people that were already signed and already there. So the girl that was the ring girl couldn't show or couldn't be there or whatever the reason. And I was like, can I do it? Like I asked. And so I was on the show very quickly, but just as the ring girl next to, the announcers and stuff like that. So, but I didn't get to really talk to Paul until I got signed, because he was like out of touch, like not out of touch, but like in the office with Danny writing the show and all of that stuff. So it was more of a distance kind of thing. I'd say hello, but it was, you know, he was busy doing his thing and, you know, had an agenda. So, and then once I got signed, he did our first, well, Deuce Domino Cherry's debut on OVW TV. And then he was brought back up to main roster to work heavier on there. So I had like one episode that I worked with him on. So
Tell me about Deuce and Domino. They were what, Cliff Compton and Jimmy Snuka Jr.?
yes, yeah, they're great. I owe them everything. Cliff was not signed at the time, but he had been there long enough that he was in the contracted class. Jimmy had been signed and he'd been there for quite a bit, you know, doing Do Shade and other things like that. So I had been doing, I'd known Jimmy from, you know, down here in ECPW, and he actually started the same time that I did, but he would always train with his dad. And so I knew of him. We all did the indies with him and together and things like that. So I already knew him, which was great. I didn't know Cliff, but I had been to the shows enough to know his gimmick. He was doing Dice Domino, like an Andrew Dice Clay kind of comedian. And Cliff is hysterical in person. Like he just has such a personality and just a sense of humor. It's so funny. So they were, well, of course they were all trying to get on TV, and of course Cliff was trying to get signed. So they had been working on this greasers gimmick, which I wasn't aware of. But when Cliff had thought about wanting to do adding a girl, but they really wanted a girl on the old school roller skates, they looked around the school, and this is what they tell me. They looked around the school and, you know, there were so many girls there, but like Jimmy knew me and knew my work ethic and worked with me. So he had recommended, you know, me for it. And they didn't know what she was going to look like other than they wanted her on skates. They didn't know what her name was. It was throwing together. They had been working promos. So when I was doing the TV shows and doing the Ring Girl after the show, and Jimmy and I would always chat and, you know, old buddies or whatever. So he said, hey, we're working on this thing. We have some promos. Would you be interested in doing it? I was like, oh my God, yeah, like whatever, an opportunity, right? So after one of the TV shows, he took me into the locker room and showed me promos that him and Cliff had been working on to get an idea. And that's all he said. He goes, we want her on old school roller skates. We don't know what her name is. We don't know what she looks like. Like, you just figure it out. And I was like, oh my God, like, what do I do? So they really came up with the whole gimmick. I literally had a week to get it together. So that was on a Wednesday. The office was coming down to evaluate the contracted class on it that Tuesday. So they didn't want to tell anybody like we were putting me together with them, but they were going to present themselves, but nobody knew that I was going to be added to their group. So we literally had a week to get it together. So I rushed around and I found the skates, and then I just went to the mall and I'm like, what does she look like? What do I look like? I just kind of try to put together what I thought she would be. So we met twice before that Tuesday to kind of like chat and maybe do promos and all of that stuff. And I showed them the outfit I put together, and they were pretty happy with it. And let me see, it was Sunday. We met at OVW. It was Sunday, and we were kicking around names. So we thought Sandy from Grease or Cherry from The Outsiders. And Cherry was very wrestling related. So we're like, Cherry's so much better. I hadn't roller skated in forever as a kid. So I had tried practicing as much as I could. So I don't know if you've seen the Davis Arena, but of course, Deuce and Domino are on the freaking other side, right? So I roll out, and it's concrete floor. So I roll out, and everybody's just standing around chatting, like nothing really started yet, but they're chatting, and I roll out, and it goes to like, at least I heard dead silence, and they're all like watching me roll through the arena. And I run, and I'm rolling to Jimmy, and I'm like, stop me, because I couldn't stop myself on the skates. It was so funny. That was an epic day. So that was where we, you know, thankfully Jimmy was able to pull it off, and you know, we were able to present our gimmick, and we really made some strides in that day. And we had just been together a whole week. You know, we never really marinated. We really didn't get the gist and the chemistry. Like, it was so fresh and so new. So I have so much respect and so much to give to those guys for allowing me that opportunity and thinking of me and, you know, being able to do a gimmick we all loved. We all brought our own special niche to that team. And it was unique, and it's sad that it ended so soon, but I don't regret it a thing. I owe everything to those guys. They're great.
How did you get your job?
So that same day, so we're doing the presentations. We're doing matches. I'm doing the managing, and it was matches on the fly. They're doing, you know, they're explaining a lot of stuff and asking a lot of questions. And so a lot to present because everybody had been working on gimmicks. So they end with, or we're coming up at the end of the day where they're doing promos. So we all get online, and Johnny Ace goes up to Cliff and goes, I want you and your group next. Because we were like way in the back of the line. So I was like, oh my God. So they go into Danny Davis's office because they want to see you on camera to see how you look. So we go up, we do our shtick, and we'd worked on a few promo storylines or whatever to like cut to get our characters over. They couldn't talk to everybody. Then they end the thing because the executives had to go, dress the crew. And then after Johnny has a spiel, he goes, Jimmy, bring your crew in the office. And I was like, what? What's happening? What is happening? So we go in the office, and it's just Danny. I don't even think Al was in there yet. It was Danny and Johnny Ace, and it was Jimmy, me, and then Cliff. And Johnny just was like, you know, I love your gimmick. It's great. It's new. It's fresh. He's like, and I want to sign you too. And that was all I heard. I don't know. Oh, other than him going, and I didn't even know you could wrestle because Danny had told him that I was in the wrestling class, you know, and I don't even know if Danny knew how much indie stuff I had done. He just knew that I had been on the indies. So after that, I don't remember what he said.
Awesome.
It was
How does life change once you go to the main roster? What's that like, going from just wrestling school, then wow, here's the big time? What's your debut like? What's life on the road like?
So we got signed Tuesday. We did OVW TV Wednesday. Brian came in to the expected visit on Thursday. I get a call that we're going to Raw on Monday.
Oh, wow.
And they were going to debut us Monday. And I was like, okay, so my boyfriend just spent all this money to come and see me, and now I have to leave Friday because they wanted us on the house show loops to debut Monday. We were going to I think Superstar Billy Graham had just put a book out, and we were going to crash his book announcement celebration, something or other. So we took the loop. Thankfully, Inferno was there because then Brian could be with Inferno because they were best friends. So
who'd you work on your first loop?
The Highlanders.
Okay.
We were wrestling the Highlanders, which was great because they were from OVW too. So, and we had already worked with them. But so Monday comes around, they scratch it. They scratch the idea, which was great because we literally were together a week. So we needed time to marinate. So before we even got to the main roster, we got sent back to OVW, which was great. We did the whole program for OVW for a year. We debuted a year to the day that Cliff and I got signed in Arkansas, Little Rock, Arkansas. So we got pulled up to the main roster on SmackDown. Little Rock, Arkansas. They had a car for us, which we didn't know that they were going to do. I got panicked because at that time, the entrance ways had the huge ramps. So freaking out. You could be as great a skater, but when you're no way to stop. So we figured it out, but they ended up not having the ramp. So, and you're coming from a developmental contract to a booking contract. So it's a very different pay grade. You have to, they take care of airlines, but you have to book your hotels, your cars, so all of us hopped in together and, getting, you pay for everything. They don't pay for your gimmicks, they don't clothes, they don't pay for your food, they don't pay for all of that. You have to figure it out. So we traveled together and we all mixed it up. But so funny story, because I was obviously traveling with Deuce and Domino. And then since when you initially go on the road, you still get your car and hotel paid for initially. And then you get taken off of that very quickly. So we had me, Jimmy, Cliff, Miz traveled with us, Punk traveled with us, Hornswoggle traveled with us. Sometimes we traveled with the Major brothers or Zack Ryder and Brian Majors. So not Brian Majors, you know what I mean? So we would clown together in like a big car. So one funny story. So we were in Pennsylvania on a loop, and it was late at night, and the boys didn't, I was the only girl in the group traveling with them. So boys are different than girls, and they're fly by the seat of their pants. And I like to plan things and know, like, where's my hotel? Where's the gym in that town? You know, like, and I kind of took on, and I think Nova, Simon Dean, made a note of saying, like, I really kind of was a manager, and they did. If they needed things to get done for the group, they would always call me and say, hey, we're going to do a shoot, let the boys know, or, you know, we need you guys here, let the boys know. So they did, which was fine, and I was totally fine with that. But I'm also that type of personality that needs to know. But when I traveled with that many boys, they didn't care. So we didn't have a hotel booked. So we're in Pennsylvania, and I don't even remember where, but I remember Punk saying he knew the area. So we went to this hotel, we pull up, and so Punk's like, I'm gonna go in with Miz and try to get us a room. So he goes in, and we're just like, it was a long ride, so we're all like, you know, trying to get comfortable and just stepping out of the van or whatever. So Miz and Punk come back and say they only had like the presidential, it was presidential suite, but it wasn't like a big hotel, it was like a Ramada or something like that, or a Holiday Inn or something. So, but they were pricing this supposed last room at like a ridiculous price. Yeah. So me, Cliff, and Hornswoggle walk in. He's like, you know, me and my wife here, you know, had a long ride, and we need to like get it in, and you know, we're gonna have a long night, and my little man over here, and you know, Swoggle's being like a pain in the butt. So they're like, he's like, oh, I'll give it to you for this, and Cliff's like, great, we'll take it. Ready, honey? Like, we're totally hamming it up. So Punk and Biz come walking in, and Punk goes, we'll take the room. And the guy goes, no. They already agreed to the room. This is my last room. They already agreed to the room. And then Punk's like, what? You gave it to us. You're going to give it to them and this half man? So we start going. And I'm like, babe, are you going to let them talk to us like that? Like, so we start this like argument, and the guy's freaking out. He's like, I'm going to call the police. And it was the same exact story that Punk put in his DVD. It was so funny. So Punk and Miz finally just throw their hands in the air, make a fit, and walked out. And the guy's like, he's like, I locked the door. Don't you worry. And it was like one of those sliding doors. So he locked it. He's like, don't you worry. And I'm like, I'm so scared, honey. And he's like, it's okay, babe. It's okay. Like, it was so funny. So we ended up getting the room, and then we went down the back staircase and let them in the locked door. We all stayed in this suite. It was so funny.
Wow.
Oh,
any highlights you want to go over during the Do Some Domino run?
We went up to the roster. We're always pitching stories. You know, you always want to work with this person, that person, make it better. You know, we worked with Paul London and Brian Kendrick initially. They were the champs, and of course they had Ashley, who was fantastic. She was so sweet to me. But they didn't really have, other than London and Kendrick, we were kind of floating a little bit before we did the thing with MVP and Matt. But there was this one match which I really liked. It was out of nowhere, and I think they were just kind of feeding us to Batista at the time, and it was just Deuce wrestling Batista. And we used to do this gimmick back in OVW where, you know, Deuce would do a move, and then he would like blow me a kiss, and I'd come up to the apron and I'd give him a kiss, like, oh, my boyfriend, he's so fantastic, you know. So Deuce would do that a couple of times, and then you know, and then Batista was like, who is this? So then Batista would do it, and then Batista would blow a kiss at me, and Deuce would get mad and like do this whole thing. Well, and it wasn't even planned. I mean, I knew part of the matches, and I knew that was going to go down. So I knew there was that was the storyline. So at the end, when of course Batista goes over on Deuce, you know, Batista's like, call me, and I'm like hamming it up to him, like, oh my God, he's so cute. You know, like I'm doing the whole facial thing. So the writers really liked that. So we ended up doing, the next week we did a segment where Deuce can't find me. you know? So he's like, where's Cherry? Where's Cherry? So it's a segment where he ends up finding me in Batista's locker room, right? So he goes to get in the locker room. I come out and I'm like, well, hey, what's going on? Why are you look mad? Like, what's going on? And then I realize it's Batista's door. And he's like, come on, you know, and then Domino comes in. He's like, we have a match. Let's go. Like, enough of this. And so it's never, it's implied that I'm in there with Batista, but then Batista comes down the hallway, opens the door, and it's me and Flair that were in there, you know, and the whole woo, you know, the whole Flair thing, which people loved. So then we ended up having a match with them the following week. So it was a little bit of a back-to-back storyline. So that was really fun because people still asked. That would have been great to go off on a storyline. So to answer your question, we did a loop, Singapore, Bangkok, Australia. And we were in the hotel. I think I was going down to the gym and Batista was coming out of the like spa or something. And he told me, he said that he really enjoyed working with us and really wanted to work more with the boys. So him and Flair were going to call Vince overseas while we were there and tell him that they wanted to do a program with us, which was exciting because when you have the top guys saying that, like, and they're willing to call them on tour. So we had just done that SmackDown where we had done the tag with Batista and Rick. So then when they had the match, they realized, oh, well, you know, we really want to move forward with this. So to have the top guys put their feedback in and say they want to work with you, like that was incredible. But it ended up getting kiboshed, obviously, because you know, they have a different storyline going or a vision for them at the time. So that was sad, but it was good to know that the two top guys, baby faces of our program, wanted to work with us. So that was exciting. Unfortunately, it didn't happen.
Why did the Domino Cherry run end?
It's a different dynamic when you're up there. You don't have much creative control over yourself, at least when you're on the level that we were. I'm sure top guys have a little bit more creative control. So I think it ended up dying down a little bit as far as the I don't know. It was just so weird because we did everything we could to be out there and about and try to get our storyline out and wanted to do more. And then we did the thing with Matt and MVP, and that wasn't really about us. You know, that was more about MVP and Matt. So it just kind of died off, which tends to happen. I feel just from watching, like sometimes the tag teams just fall off, and they always said Vince was not big on tag teams. So I don't know. It was sad, but I can't say that I'm not, you know, they went off with me. You know, I got into the girls mix and I did the Diva Contest.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I did well. And
what are your
so
thoughts
I was
on
happy about that. So it was sad because we had so much more to offer and you never really understand a lot of the decision making up there. So you always just strive to get to that level where your opinion matters. But I'll never forget. So I'm in the Diva competition and I'm making it every round, and I'm shocked too because I don't know if the where you text your vote is legit, right, or is it a work, right? So I remember Elijah Burke coming up to me, and I think I was like, it was the second to last week before the competition was over. I mean, let's be honest, we all knew it was going to be Michelle, but he goes, what do you think of the competition? And I said, Elijah, you know what? I said, if this is legit, then I can't be more happier than I've made it this far because the fans want to see me. And if it's a work, that means the office wants to see me this far. So I said, I don't care. I know this is about Michelle. Michelle's our top girl, and I was fine with that. And I loved my time there. I'm not the politic-y type person, never was. So I didn't really get far with that kind of stuff, but I mean, I think I had a good reputation for myself. I didn't rock the boat. I never had any fights with anybody. And but yeah, I mean, that competition was good. The Deuce and Domino thing is always, it's depressing to all of us because we feel like there was so much more we could have done. You know, I don't feel like our characters and stuff really kind of came across the way we did in OVW. We really had a lot going on there. So you know, that was depressing because we did have so much more to give, but everything happens for a reason. So
can we do rapid fire? with
Yeah,
some
let's do it.
divas? All right,
Yeah.
you can give me one word. You can give me 5 minutes, whatever you want. I'm just gonna name some divas you were there with. I'll leave anybody out. Let me know. But let's start with Tori Wilson.
Oh my gosh, the sweetest. I was such a fan of hers too. So I was like, oh my God, when I got to share a locker room with her, oh my God, what a sweet, kind, genuine. She just, if you follow her on Instagram or any of the social medias, that's who she is. She's just positive. She's supportive. She's great. She's a wonderful woman.
Michelle McCool.
Great. She was awesome to me. I had a great opportunity to work with her, learn from her, help her. I know that she was working on a match with Maurice, and I was out there. I wasn't on the show that day, but to be able to still get in there and work with her and learn from her was really good. So she was so sweet to me.
Maurice
was, we were together in OVW. So we had more of a OVW connection. And she was very helpful as far as wanting to teach me, I was just the normal girl, she came from, she's a bikini model. She knew all of that other stuff. So helping me with like makeup and, posing and stuff like that. So we had more of a friendship from a different level than the other girls. And then of course we had the storyline. So that made it a little bit more organic.
Maria
was very sweet, but crucially helpful in me adjusting as a diva up there. Cause she would come down a lot. Initially she was dating Punk at the time, and she would come down a lot and she would tell me, like, I had my first photo shoot. So she helped me with like understanding what they're going to do there, what you need to do, how to prepare for it. She gave me real insight on the girls and was very, held my hand to a certain point when she was around, because they used her a lot in a lot of different things. So when she was around, she always kind of was like checking it on me and super nice to me. So,
I mean, do I need to ask, what's your relationship with Natty like?
Oh, she's horrible. No.
I'm gonna end it. I'm gonna end the clip right there. I'm gonna post it like that.
Natty's my best friend. I mean, I just never thought going on the road with her and meeting her there, like we would have so much in common and just get along so well. I'm so grateful to have shared the road with her, and not only just because I love wrestling. So, hearing everything that she has to offer. She definitely traveled and trained more than I did. So as she is today, she's very giving. So she explains a lot. She shares a lot. I love the connection she has with her family and hearing a lot about the personal connections they have and the amount of things we have in common. I really feel like she's just one of my sisters. And I get a lot that we look a little bit alike. So that's fun too. But when she came on the road, it really made me feel a lot more confident and comfortable because I had someone I could really trust with everything. And I had a girl and, wasn't traveling with the guys. And, I traveled by myself at some point. You need that confidant. You need that supportive sister to be there with you. So and it's lasted a long time. And her debut, to know that I was her debut match was incredible. And we did great. Like we came back and the gorilla stood up and they cheered and they were happy with how it came out, and Fit hugged us and we were thrilled. It just came off so well. So yeah, life, love, friendship. She's my best friend.
Layla.
Oh, my girl, Layla. Layla helped me a lot too. She's so sweet. She helped me with posing, especially a lot with that first bikini competition we did. Because I'm like, oh my God, I'm not a bikini model. Like, I'm just a natural girl. And she helped me. She's like, do poses in the mirror. See what you look like. Don't just go out there on a whim. Like, she really showed me how to practice and how to do angles and how to do this, and helped me like, hey, this is your character. Don't do what Layla would do, And she was very talented in that sense of it. So she was really great because Natty hadn't got up there yet at that point. So I really leaned on Layla, Kelly, and Brooke, because they were doing the extreme expose. So I traveled with Layla, and funny story with Layla. So we had, so WWE did a Divas magazine special, and they had done Raw girls on one day, SmackDown girls on another day, and OVW girls on another day. I don't even think they had Deep South at that point, but I knew they broke up brands. So we were out in LA and they did ECW with SmackDown because we taped on the same day. So we did this shoot. It was spectacular. It was this huge mansion in LA and they had all these makeup teams and wardrobe teams and just completely decked out for this shoot. And it was fantastic. It was the first time I'd ever done something that spectacular. So back on the road after we're done with that. So the next week, me and Layla are traveling and we did a Northeast loop. Oh my God. And I don't think we've ever told the story, but so the week before we're in LA getting, treated like queens. And then the next week, we can't find a hotel room for our life. That whole area was booked out of hotel rooms. So we're traveling around. This wasn't like a last minute, let's go on the road like the boys did and let's just find a hotel. Like we tried to book it prior to. So no joke, Layla and I slept in our car in front of a gas station. When we were just treated like queens. And we were laughing, but we stayed in we were nervous, but we stayed in front of the gas station where it was lit and locked the doors. And she had just gotten her puppy, her little min pin. And
it was a nice gas station. It wasn't a rundown gas station. It was like an Exxon, it wasn't like a
higher traffic one where it had like a substation and, it wasn't like but at least it was like, it was the best we could do. And then we finally got a hotel that morning. We found like a Hampton Inn and it was like super overpriced, but we're like, whatever. So we couldn't check in. So we went and had the breakfast and then we went to bed and then we went to the arena later that night. But we slept in our car in front of a gas station as WWE Divas. It was horrible.
What about Melina?
Oh my gosh, I miss Melina. She's so talented, so giving. I mean, her gimmick was incredible. Like when we would do wrestling at the shows at the arenas before, she was intense, even during practice, intense. I miss her. She brought so much to the group and so sweet, so genuinely sweet. So yeah, I love Melina.
Any backstage issues with any of the girls? You guys pretty much get along? Was there any
I got along with everybody. I didn't really have any fights or issues or anything like that. Sure. I mean, we're all sisters and we're all friends and we get into disagreements, but nothing too bad. But for me, I never really didn't get along with much people. If someone didn't like me, I didn't know it. But I also try to stay under the radar, which is good or bad sometimes. So you have to watch out. You don't want to be too far introverted before you're not included. So I got along with everybody. So
Vince McMahon is in the news a lot right now. What was your interactions being a diva in the WWE? What were your interactions with Vince McMahon like?
Vince was great. I mean, I didn't see him close up a lot at all. But when I did see him, he was always very kind and nice. And I did go to him once and just kind of said, hey, I just want to be on the same page. Is there anything that you need more from me? And, I had taken the initiative to go in there by myself about myself, and just wanted to make sure, because this was at the time that the competition, the Diva competition was taken off, and he opened door, let me talk to me, he's a busy man, gave me some time. And he said that I was doing great. And, they had plans for me, and, there was nothing else at the time that they thought, but he appreciated me coming to talk to him, and, very kind. And, Fit had always told me that what really got me over with Vince was my facials. So I prided myself on my facials, because I just remember watching wrestling growing up, how I recognize that when in wrestling matches, your facials really make a difference when you're selling something. And even if it isn't necessarily a wrestling move, for me as that manager, valet Cherry, for me to, make those faces ooh, Batista likes me, or, oh my God, it's you have to over exaggerate that. And Vince was big into that. And, Fit always pointed that out. So Vince never told me himself, but Fit's great. So I totally believe that. So, and I always was prided on that, making sure that you get that part over. So yeah, he was good to me. I mean, I hate that that's going on. I think he's built an empire this business is incredible. And I hate that might be the legacy that goes along with it. So hopefully things will clear up, but not that WWE is going away. You know, obviously Stephanie and Hunter are going to, you know, take it further, which is great, because I think you have so much of a universe, right, that people like really look out for wrestling. I just hate to think that that's really the situation, because, you know, you worked so hard and made a legendary empire. I mean, I can't explain it and describe it any more than that. To have it go out like that, that's upsetting. So, but who knows?
What are your interactions with John Laurinaitis like?
Johnny was very busy. So obviously he hired me, which is great. You know, when I had a lot of the stuff going on in OVW initially, when I, you know, had done some cosmetic surgeries, I had to get his approval. So he worked with me on that. And, you know, being in OVW, I was able to do that and take the time off to recover from that. So, but he was very busy. I mean, I didn't really, other than, I mean, I know there was one time where, you know, when we went to HD, I know that sounds funny for me to say that, but we went to HD. So like a lot of the cosmetic stuff, I was doing my own makeup when I first got there, but they really wanted us to have their makeup artist do us. So he kind of just took me to the ladies and said, hey, I want this and that for her. And, you know, so he took my hand on that. But once I got up there, I didn't have a lot of interaction with him, because he didn't need to have an interaction with me. You know, I just was there with the boys, went with my agent, our producers did what we had to do, you know, so he kind of was more on the back end of it. So, I mean, he said hi to me, but I mean, in the back of my mind, it's like, now that I'm hired, I want to stay away from Johnny Ace.
Yeah.
Because he's also the one that fires. So
Yeah.
I try to stay in line.
Any last minute comments, anything else you want to talk about as far as Johnny Ace and Vince McMahon is concerned? Anything you've witnessed, experienced, felt, or you want to just cut it off right there? It's in your court.
Yeah, I don't have anything else to say about that.
All right, there we go. One question I want to know.
Yes.
Any good roller skating stories? Any mishaps? Any bumps? Any stumbles? Come on, there has to be something.
I had one, and I was so upset. It was when we were wrestling Jimmy Wang Yang, and at the end of the match, they were having me slap him, and it was the first time I ever fell, and it was on SmackDown TV, and they edited it out, thank God.
Oh darn!
Poor Jimmy. So right, I fall, and the wheels just, and it was funny because when I was on the mat on the outside of the ring or in the ring, my wheels didn't really move, so it was great. I could just walk around. It was pretty easy. But for whatever reason, they came out from underneath me and I fell, and then I heard everybody laugh. So I get up and I smack Jimmy so hard because I'm like overcompensating.
Of course.
I felt so bad after the fact. I realized what I did. I was like, oh my God, I twice. I hit him 2 more times and they edited it out, but oh my God, I felt so bad. Overcompensated and smacked the crap out of him.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so that was the only time I ever fell. But let me tell you, great gimmick, very hard to deal with. I have another story for the skates. So I forget where we were going, but we had a flight and it was going through security. And the TSA people, it was overseas somewhere. The TSA people said I always have my skates. You bring your gimmicks with you, right? You always bring your gimmick on the plane. You always bring your belts on the plane. They told me I couldn't take my skates. They thought it was like something wrong with it. So I'm like, these are my only skates. Now I had a pair in the TV office box, but this was the one I took. So I'm like, Fit. I'm screaming for Fit. I'm like, they're trying to take my skates. I think they thought it was like a weapon or something. So Fit had to talk to the TSA guys. Luckily, it was I think we were getting on a charter. So at least it wasn't like, oh, she's just some poor slub bringing on these roller skates to a regular, like domestic international flight or whatever. So I Fit had to beg them. Fit had to smooth it over because I mean, they're bulky and they're big. Trust me, I have to carry them everywhere. But yeah, I almost got them confiscated. It's like, that's my gimmick. What else? We're not going to find these skates overseas. You know what I mean? We can't go find another pair. So that was a funny story.
Did they think like there'd be headlines like women bludgeons flight attendant with a pair of roller skates?
I mean, and they were like monogrammed, like they had my like logo on it, and you know, it's all of us going through security. It's like not just this like random like you know, so funny. Thank God Fit was there. So cool. Twitter, which is former Diva Cherry. I'm also on Instagram as DDC Chick. And then I also have Cameo as DDC's Chick. So, you know, interacting with the fans, I've met so many people. I've got so many gifts from fans. I have this huge caricature that a gentleman gave me in Paris, which was another funny story. We were at a signing. It was me, Deuce, and Domino. And you can edit that out. Excuse me. So we were at a signing in Paris, and we go into this room, and this guy comes up, and of course I can't speak French, and he hands me this like rolled up long piece of paper. I was like, oh, thank you. And so I thought it was the three of us, right? So I refused to unroll it because we're overseas, and I don't want to have to like roll it back up. So I didn't open it. But Cliff takes it from me on the tour bus, and he opens it. And he goes, "It's just you." And I was like, "It is." So this guy made it just for me. And it was perfect. And I still have it hanging on my wall. So yeah, there were so many fans and so many people that I got to meet. And
text me a picture of that later.
Yeah, I'll show you. Absolutely.
Awesome.